Once upon a time, in a model shop far, far away, lived an OSA 2 model kit in 1 in 72nd from I Love Kit. It longed for the day when someone sane and rational would buy it and put it together to represent one of the 400 built in the 1960s. However, someone not so sane and rational brought it at a heavily discounted price and turned it into the Malagasy What If coastal patrol boat, as you see here in front of you. Now, I've got to just finish the propellers and paint those bronze, but it's almost 100% complete. It's even got the anti-submarine warfare MD500 helicopter here, which is, before you say, oh, well, that won't work, the Taiwan Navy use these as anti-submarine helicopters. And here it is with part 1 of the trilogy, the Special Forces support boat. This is part 2 and part 3 is on the way. Now, I constructed this from the I Love Kit OSA 2. I used the hull and everything else. The superstructure is scratch built out of plasticard, with the exception of kit bits which I've reused and some parts from fleet scale models. A lot of stuff from the spares bin. The helicopter, of course, is Italeri. I added some white metal crew figures to it. There it is with the magnetic anomaly detector, which comes off and trails behind it. I cut the doors off, as the Taiwan Navy tend to fly them without the front doors. It's got a torpedo from a SH-60 Seahawk. It's got the dipping sonar hole there. That cover comes off and the dipping sonar comes out. And the flotation gear is just built from plasticard with a Revell radome from a Sea King. Now, this is probably the smallest boat in the Navy of Madagascar that can accommodate a helicopter. And if you think, well, it wouldn't accommodate one, this is about the size of a tuna boat. And tuna boats often have OH6 or MD500s on them for spotting the tuna shoals. So that's really what cemented it in my mind that this could work. It's got a little workbench or helipad at the back there for the helicopter, and it's capable of doing what's called anti-surface warfare or anti-submarine warfare. Now, the nemesis of these boats is the Bottle Class Submarine. There's a separate video on that, which is the Marmation. That's where Tanzania is. And these will work in what is in reality the Mozambique Strait, which I've called the Oilum Strait. Now, it's quite heavily armed for a boat of its size. Ships abandon this house, so it's a boat. It's got 2 Exocet batch-free missile launchers here. These are from fleet scale. They do a range of frigates and destroyers in 1 in 72nd. And then it's got the vertical launch, cold launch system for the Nominator 2 missile. So whereas the Special Forces support boat has 10 Nominator 2s, this carries 20 Nominator 2s. Now, the Nominator 2 is a short-range surface-to-air missile, and also a bit like a Hellfire, it can do anti-ship, anti-small boat attack as well, so it's very useful. I've added these blast deflectors from the OSA kit there, and the superstructure is quite large. It was meant to be a bit more stealthily shaped like this one, but it just came out a bit more vertical, and I stuck with it because the space is good, and I'll come on to that in a little bit, and the reasons for that. These are from the OSA kit, just repurposed, and I constructed a scratch-built Bofors 40mm turret for the 40mm Bofors. So this is an L70. So the L70 is an excellent weapon. dual purpose. It can be used against surface targets like small drone boats, or it's got quite a high elevation, so it can be used against aircraft as well as missiles coming in. It's got a sight here, but it is a completely remote weapon system, and it's controlled here by this electro-optical device, which is from a Revell Eurocopter Tiger helicopter from the UHT model. Then it's got a SATCOM here, some antennas here, and the lights. The bridge was fully detailed on the inside, but the window came off inside when I was painting it. There's no way to put that back on, so I had to make these bridge window surrounds to cover that up. It's a bit of a shame. This is your radar to stop you bumping into ships, and this is the ping pong ASA electronically active scanned array air search and surface search radar. It's able to track a lot of targets, and that commands the Nominator 2 missiles, which gives you your ability to protect yourself. It's also got here, these are from a Airfix Nimrod. These are sonar buoys repurposed into chaff and flare launchers for self-protection. This is from an Artillery Hempt truck. That's the crane, and this would lift up like a corrugated door thing, roller door. And just like here, you've got the rib boat here. I'm waiting for one more rib boat from AliExpress, and that will go on there. And that's how your special forces or your crews get around and go out and board boats and stuff like that. Here we have a homemade remote weapons station for 30mm Bushmaster cannon. This has got a Bushmaster cannon cut down from a spare that came from a Badger 3D kit. Here's the funnel and mast all combined in one. There's the funnels. That's where your air's sucked in. This is your MBC purification system. Oh, I've just knocked over the captain, sorry. And then down here, you've got another one of these roller shutter doors. The helicopter won't fit in there. It's not a hangar, it's a workspace in there. But that's how you can get all the weapons out, load them on, and such like. This is a little bay here for one, controlling the helicopter deck, and two, and most importantly, it's got a towed sonar array, which comes out and comes down this ramp at the back, and that's where it goes back in. And then it's winched down the cables and the antennae. It comes down here, and that gives the ship its anti-submarine capability. So this is designed to operate in the littoral zone. It's designed to make it really difficult for the Bottle Class submarines, and it's designed to operate around the Malagasy coast and protect both the Malagasy state and hunt those submarines. Now, the superstructure is quite big compared to the OSA's superstructure, which, as you can see, is very thin, very minimal, and a tiny bridge. It's a bit like the Special Forces support boats, quite a large superstructure, but it's not that heavy. I'll show you why in a minute. Now, it can also accommodate the MD500 UAV drone helicopter here, armed with Hellfires and rocket pods. So if you are dealing with less of a submarine threat, and say you're going after pirates up near the top of the channel, protecting shipping, it can accommodate this, and that is of course very useful in shooting up pirate boats or protecting you against attack drones. Now, the helipad itself and the bottom of the helicopter, you see this little device. That's called a bear trap, like a bear trap system it's called. And what it is when the helicopter comes in tough weather, gets down on the deck, and that prong comes out and catches into these metal net areas, gripping it down, holding it in place, and then the mechanics can strap the helicopter down securely. So even if the ship boat is rolling in a bad weather situation, the helicopter will remain firm and won't go anywhere. It would have the same here on the drones as well, so you don't want that rolling around. It is a fairly substantial heli deck for this class of helicopter, and let's have a look at what it would look like inside. So there is a side view, and I think it looks quite cool. I wish I had done the front superstructure a little bit lower, but inside we have actually quite a large void, but I've tried to keep the weight really down low. The roll centre of the boat is, for this kind of boat, is around here. So if you take the bridge down there and bring it down, then this is where your machinery space is. So that's where there's two powerful 10,000 horsepower diesels driving the 3 generators, which provide drive to the 3 screws. That's the heaviest part of the ship, so it keeps the weight down at the roll centre. This area here at the back is fuel, plant machinery, heavy stores and heli fuel, again giving you that weight towards the rear. The front here, you've got your anchor compartment. That's where your anchor chain goes, and that comes down here on this chain, and then there's the anchor there at the front. You've got the exocets there, and then a vertical launch magazine, a cold launch system using compressed air to get the missiles out to a height of 2 meters when they ignite. And that's the front bit here. Is surrounding that vertical launch system is a crew area. Moving back here and going up, that's a crew area, and that's light. So yes, there's a large size to the superstructure, but not much weight. The feed for the 40mm is down here, where there's the 40mm magazine. You've got the crew sort of wash areas and further crew spaces, the galley here, crew area up the top there, and the back here, again, this is quite a void. This is your workspace here, going around the funnels. The funnels, of course, coming down there, and that is where you can work on rib boats and do what you need to do. The funnels actually run slightly offset there, coming down and away to give you a bit more space, but they do eat into the area somewhat, into the workspace area somewhat. The towed sonar system comes out of this side, and then that's where you've got your bridge on the top, which is where you've got your command centre and you run the operations from. So what I've worked out in my nautical non-existent knowledge is that this boat would have a range of 3,000 nautical miles at 12 knots, 1,500 nautical miles at 20 knots, and if it was going full pelt at 35 knots, going maximum tilt, it would have a range of 500 nautical miles. So not a huge range, but obviously you'd use that speed for spurt speed. You wouldn't be going at that the whole time. Endurance, 12 days at sea, a crew of 18 plus the captain, 6 additional crew if you're carrying the helicopter, or 6 special forces can be carried on board in relative comfort because you've got this large crew space. Now, this area here, you've got the escape hatches up the top there. There is another hatch at the front to get to this part for the working party. And around here, there is a hatch here. And then, of course, you've got a hatch up here, sort of an emergency hatch. So the idea is, like the Special Forces support craft, is I actually want this to be quite a minimalistic boat. Not a lot of railings and stuff. When I next change guitar strings, I'll add the railings for the front there, or use some of that magic string stuff. But yeah, I wanted it to look quite clean. And like I said, this is part 2 of a trilogy. You can also use this rear helipad for containerized loads. So if you are just doing a Special Forces mission, you can add ISO containers on the back here, which you'll secure down to the deck. You can have a couple on there, still keeping your towed sonar array free, but you can obviously use that for special forces boats or special forces equipment. The crane here is designed to lift the rib back up and out of the water, and it can be used to take whatever you are doing and lift it around. So quite a little versatile ship. It's not a frigate or corvette in any way. It's still very much a coastal patrol boat, not designed to tangle with frigates, destroyers and such like, but it can protect itself with the Exocet, and it can give bad actors a run for its money. If you try and air attack it using drones or aircraft, short range Nominator 2, range of about 10 to 15 kilometres, and then you've got the Beauforts, so it does have a sting to it, and if you creep around the back, the Bushmaster as well can attack you there. So I've tried to keep it relatively clean, relatively simple. Let me know what you think, and stay tuned for boat number 3.